See things for what they are. Do what we can, endure and bear what we must. What blocked the path now is the path. What once impeded action advances action.
Welcome to Philosopher Insights, the podcast that delivers wisdom in minutes a day that you can put into practice daily and strive to master over a lifetime.
The podcast committed to sharing ideas that encourage you to bridge the gap between who you are today and the person you aspire to be in the future.
Hi, my name is Herb Lamba, and welcome to my podcast, where I will share practical insights from the world's best authors.
Knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is. The quest to become the best version of you starts right now.
Hi, and welcome to Philosopher Insights. My name is Herb Lamba. Today we're discussing The Obstacle is the Way, the timeless art of turning trials into triumph. The author of the book is Ryan Holiday, and this book is published back in 2014. I wanted to share a number of my favorite insights, starting with perception, action, iterate, follow the process, it may not work, conduct a pre-mortem, and finishing off with something bigger than you. So let's start with the introduction. Quote, "This thing in front of you, this issue, this obstacle, this frustrating, unfortunate, problematic, unexpected problem, preventing you from doing what you want to do. That thing you dread or secretly hope will never happen. What if it wasn't so bad? What if embedded inside it or inherent in it were certain benefits? Benefits only for you. What would you do? What would you think most people would do? Probably what they've always done, and what you are doing right now. Nothing. Let's be honest, most of us are paralyzed. Whatever our individual goals, most of us sit frozen before the many obstacles that lie ahead of us." End quote. That kicks off the introduction in this fabulous book by Ryan Holiday. Yes, the same author who wrote The Ego is the Enemy. Anyone who has ever tried anything hard in life will resonate with the message author Ryan Holiday shares in this in-depth and practical book, where he shines a light on the path to living and leading well. I resonated with that opening paragraph. You have a dream or an idea that you know you could act on if you summon the courage to move towards it. But instead, you're paralyzed by the obstacles, some perceived and some real. Either way, they prevent you from just getting started. Quote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." End quote. That is a quote from Marcus Aurelius. Instead of seeing obstacles as problematic, you learn to expect them and understand that they are never permanent. The obstacles provide the opportunity to improve. Quote, "Because obstacles are not only to be expected but embraced." Embraced? Yes, because these obstacles are actually opportunities to test ourselves, to try new things, and ultimately to triumph. The obstacle is the way. End quote. The book is broken up into three core pieces. One is perception, 2 is action, and 3 is will. Let's dive deeper into my favorite insights from this wisdom-packed book, shall we? Insight number 1, perception. Quote, "What is perception? It's how we see and understand what occurs around us, and what we decide those events will mean. Our perception can be a source of strength or of great weakness. If we are emotional, subjective, and short-sighted, we only add to our troubles. To prevent becoming overwhelmed by the world around us, we must, as the ancients practiced, learn how to limit our passions and their control over our lives. It takes skill and discipline to bat away the pests of bad perception, to separate reliable signals from deceptive ones, to filter out prejudice, expectation, and fear. But it's worth it, for what's left is truth. While others are excited or afraid, we will remain calm and imperturbable. We will see things simply and straightforwardly as they truly are, neither good nor bad. This will be an incredible advantage for us in the fight against obstacles." End quote. How you perceive things often dictates how you actually respond. The same event happens to two different people, and one sees a crisis, the other sees an opportunity. The reactions are a function of our perceptions, and nothing makes us feel this way. We are choosing to give the event such feelings. Quote, "It's your choice whether you want to put I in front of something. I hate public speaking. I screwed up. I am harmed by this. These add an extra element. You in relation to that obstacle, rather than just the obstacle itself. And with the wrong perspective, we become consumed and overwhelmed with something actually quite small. So why subject ourselves to that? The right perspective has a strange way of cutting obstacles and adversity down to size." End quote. Holiday digs much deeper into how we can discipline our perception, and once we do, we must look towards the next step, which is action. Insight number 2. Action. Quote, what is action? Action is commonplace. Right action is not. As a discipline, it's not any kind of action that will do, but directed action. Everything must be done in the service of the whole. Step by step, action by action, we'll dismantle the obstacles in front of us. With persistence and flexibility, we'll act in the best interest of our goals. Action requires courage, not brashness. Creative application, not brute force. Our movements and decisions define us. We must be sure to act with deliberation, boldness, and persistence. Those are the attributes of right and effective action, nothing else. Not thinking or evasion or aid from others. Action is the solution and the cure to our predicaments. End quote. I love that passage. It's filled with so much wisdom. The first is that we look at action as a step-by-step process, not a massive leap that leads to overwhelm. Just take the necessary next step. Next, that your movements and decisions define you. That is your integrity at play. How effectively can you get yourself to do what you say you will do, moment to moment? Quote, it's okay to be discouraged. It's not okay to quit. It's supposed to be hard. Your first attempts aren't going to work. It's going to take a lot out of you, but energy is an asset we can always find more of. It's a renewable resource. Stop looking for an epiphany and start looking for weak points. Stop looking for angels and start looking for angles. There are options. Settle in for the long haul and then try each and every possibility and you'll get there. End quote. Remind yourself that it's supposed to be hard. That is what makes the eventual achievement so rewarding. If you get discouraged along the way, that is okay as long as you pick yourself up and keep moving forward with persistence and determination. As the legendary philosopher Jim Rohn says, quote, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better, end quote. Insight number 3, iterate. Quote, in a world where we increasingly work for ourselves, are responsible for ourselves, it makes sense to view ourselves like a startup of one. And that means changing the relationship with failure. It means iterating, failing, and improving. Our capacity to try is inextricably linked with our ability and tolerance to fail. End quote. Every time I hear an author talk about failure and how we must look at failure differently, the first thought that comes to my mind is the importance of educating the kids of today. Failure is part of the path to success. It's unavoidable. Yet the education system grooms kids to be discouraged and embarrassed by failure. I believe this may be one of the most valuable skills to learn at a very young age. It's okay to fail. In fact, it's the preferred path to improvement. Quote, like any good school, learning from failure isn't free. The tuition is paid in discomfort or loss and having to start over. Be glad to pay the cost. There will be no better teacher for your career, for your book, for your new venture. Failure shows us the way by showing us what is not the way. End quote. Have you failed today? Great. Celebrate it, learn from it, and keep going. Insight number 4, follow the process. Quote, the process is about finishing. Finishing games, finishing workouts, finishing film sessions, finishing drives, finishing reps, finishing plays, finishing blocks, finishing the smallest task you have right in front of you and finishing it well. Follow the process, not the prize. End quote. Although the passage is applied to sports, you can apply it to your personal journey. Don't think about the end. Winning your version of the Super Bowl shouldn't be the focus right now. The focus is the next manageable task you can do to inch closer to your goal. Quote, when it comes to our actions, disorder and distractions are death. The unordered mind loses track of what's in front of it, what matters, and gets distracted by thoughts of the future. The process is order. It keeps our perceptions in check and our actions in sync. End quote. It is the process that will be your voice that demands you take ownership. It will prompt you to act, even if only in a small way. The process is about doing the right thing at this very moment and not worrying about the consequences, the results, or focusing on the bigger picture. In No Limits by Michael Phelps and Alan Abramson, they introduce us to a brilliant acronym. WIN. What's important now? Now that is an amazing acronym for executing the process. Step back and ask yourself, what is important now? Then do that right now. Insight number 5. It may not work. Quote, after we've tried, some obstacles may turn out to be impossible to overcome. Some actions are rendered impossible. Some paths impossible. Some things are bigger than us. This is not necessarily a bad thing, because we can turn that obstacle upside down simply by using it as an opportunity to practice some other virtue or skill. Even if it is just learning to accept that bad things happen or practicing humility. End quote. Every negative event that happens in your life presents a new path or an alternative path to express a better version of you. I believe the obstacles and failures are the primary ingredients for growth. These challenges will test your resolve, and that is never a bad thing. The problem is your opportunity to do your best. It's not about tackling the impossible. Quote, you must be willing to roll the dice and lose. Prepare, at the end of the day, for none of it to work. Anyone in pursuit of a goal comes face to face with this time and time again. Sometimes no amount of planning, no amount of thinking, no matter how hard we try or patiently we persist, will change the fact that some things just aren't going to work. End quote. I just love that because it really comes down to how you will respond. But understanding that success is never guaranteed should give you the inner strength to accept any result. And most importantly, be able to move to whatever is next with the same passion and courage. Insight number 6, will. Quote, what is will? Will is our internal power which can never be affected by the outside world. It is our final trump card. If action is what we do when we still have some agency over a situation, the will is what we depend on when agency has all but disappeared. We must prepare for adversity and turmoil. We must learn the art of acquiescence and practice cheerfulness even in the dark times. Too often, people think that will is how bad we want something. In actuality, the will has a lot more to do with surrender than with strength. True will is quiet humility, resilience, and flexibility. The other kind of will is weakness disguised by bluster and ambition. See which lasts longer under the hardest of obstacles. End quote. That kicks off the third and final section of this book, will. Holiday shares a new way of looking at will. It's not only about how bad you want something in life. It's the opportunity to practice virtues such as resilience, courage, and flexibility. Quote, if perception and action were the disciplines of the mind and the body, then will is the discipline of the heart and the soul. The will is the one thing we control completely, always. Whereas I can try to mitigate harmful perceptions and give 100% of my energy to actions, those attempts can be thwarted or inhibited. My will is different because it is within me. End quote. It is highly unlikely you will ever get rid of all the unpleasant and unexpected parts of your life. The reality is that the incomprehensible happens more often than we would like. That is when you are required to muster up the will to move past whatever challenge is facing you. I think it's your will to continue that grants you the courage to try a different approach, to learn from your mistakes, and to ultimately persist on this journey. Quote, certain things in life will cut you open like a knife. When that happens, at that exposing moment, the world gets a glimpse of what's truly inside you. So what will be revealed when you're sliced open by tension and pressure? Iron? Or air? Or BS? End quote. That may very well be my favorite passage in the book. Life happens, but you're not promised a smooth sail. It will present moments to you that will challenge your internal fortitude. What will you do in that defining moment? How will you show up? Insight number 7. Conduct a pre-mortem. Quote, in a post-mortem, doctors convene to examine the cause of a patient's unexpected death so they can learn and improve for the next time a similar circumstance arises. Outside the medical world, we call this a number of things: a debriefing, an exit interview, a wrap-up meeting, a review. But whatever it's called, the idea is the same. We're examining the project in hindsight, after it happened. A pre-mortem is different. In it, we look to envision what could go wrong, what will go wrong in advance, before we start. Far too many ambitious undertakings fail for preventable reasons. Far too many people don't have a backup plan because they refuse to consider that something might not go exactly as they wish. End quote. You must recognize that your plan and the way things actually turn out seldom resemble each other, and what you feel you deserve in life is rarely what you end up getting. This is very similar wisdom to the WHOOP process that author Gabrielle Oettingen shared in Rethinking Positive Thinking. WHOOP: wish, Outcome, obstacles, plan forces you to rub your goals and dreams up against reality by identifying the obstacles up front and making a plan to address them. Quote, on a blank sheet of paper, name the wish in 3 to 6 words. Identify the best outcome, also in 3 to 6 words, and write it down. Now let your thoughts lead your pen, taking as much paper as you need. Then name your obstacle and write it down. Imagine the obstacle, again, letting your thoughts wander and lead your writing. To create a plan, first write down one specific action you can take to overcome that obstacle. Write down the time and place where you believe the obstacle will arise. Then write down the if-then plan. If obstacle X occurs, when and where, then I will perform behavior Y. Repeat it once to yourself out loud. End quote. Whoop is one of the best strategies I've ever come across, forcing you to remind yourself of what could go wrong, what obstacles you may encounter, and create the plan to overcome them. It's extremely powerful and super effective. Get prepared for failure and ready for success. Insight number 8, something bigger than you. Quote, see, when we focus on others, on helping them or simply providing a good example, our personal fears and troubles will diminish. With fear or heartache no longer our primary concern, we don't have time for it. Shared purpose gives us strength. The desire to quit or compromise on principle suddenly feels rather selfish when we consider the people who would be affected by that decision. End quote. In those moments where you feel completely stuck, like the obstacle is impossible to overcome, try getting out of self mode and start thinking about how you can make it better for others. It doesn't help anyone when you make it all about yourself. Why did this happen to me? Or what am I going to do about this? Quote, help your fellow humans thrive and survive. Contribute your little bit to the universe before it swallows you up, and be happy with that. Lend a hand to others, be strong for them, and it will make you stronger. End quote. As a final thought, let's finish with this, as it captures this book brilliantly. Quote, see things for what they are. Do what we can, endure and bear what we must. What blocked the path now is the path. What once impeded action advances action. That concludes the insights I wanted to share from The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. You've been listening to Philosopher Insights with your host, Herb Lamba. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To go deeper with me, you can register for free at www.philosopherinsights.com for instant access to a growing library of Philosopher Insights, which are 8 to 10 page PDFs, plus 20-minute MP3s that break down my favorite insights from the world's best personal development books. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Facebook at Optimal Herb. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.